The church bells rang, the guests rose, and the bride's trembling hands clutched her bouquet tighter than ever. Everyone thought her shaking was from excitement, but only she knew it was fear. Her name was Emily Carter, a kind-hearted woman with a smile that could brighten the darkest of days. But standing at the altar, about to marry a man who treated her more like a trophy than a partner, Emily felt her chest tighten. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't lie. And in one impulsive heartbeat, she dropped her bouquet, lifted her gown, and ran. Gasps filled the church as whispers spread like wildfire. The bride ran away. Cameras flashed, phones came out, and her family shouted after her. Emily's heels clattered against the marble floor as she burst through the church doors, sprinting down the steps into the city streets. The world outside seemed louder, brighter, scarier, but also freer than she had felt in years. She didn't know where she was going, only that she had to escape. Tears blurred her vision, but she didn't stop running until her legs gave out. She collapsed against the hood of a sleek black car parked near the curb. The door opened, and a deep, steady voice asked, "Are you all right?" Emily looked up into the eyes of a stranger. He was tall, immaculately dressed in a tailored suit, with a calm strength about him. His presence felt both intimidating and safe all at once. She stammered, I can't go back in there." Without asking for details, the man gently took off his jacket and draped it over her trembling shoulders. "Then you won't," he said firmly. "Get in. I'll drive you somewhere safe." Emily hesitated. She had just run from her own wedding into the arms of a stranger. But there was something in his gaze, a quiet honesty that made her trust him. She climbed into his car, still shaking. As they drove away, the sounds of the church faded behind her, replaced by the steady hum of the city. His name, she soon learned, was Alexander Pierce. What Emily didn't know in that moment was that he was one of the wealthiest men in the city, a billionaire who lived in the shadows of his own success. Alexander had built empires, but carried his own loneliness, hidden behind power and reputation. As the car weaved through the streets, Emily confessed everything. Daniel was cold and controlling, how her family had pressured her into the marriage for status, and how she felt suffocated by a future that didn't belong to her. Alexander listened quietly, never interrupting. For once she felt truly heard. He brought her to a quiet rooftop garden atop one of his hotels, a place no one else knew he visited. The city lights glittered below, and Emily felt, for the first time in years, that she could breathe. "You don't have to live someone else's dream," Alexander told her. "The bravest thing you did today was run." Over the following days, Alexander offered her shelter, not romance. He gave her space to rediscover herself. Emily began painting again, something she had abandoned under Daniel's criticism. She laughed freely, explored the city, and slowly healed from the shame of her runaway bride scandal. But the world outside was cruel. The media painted Emily as reckless. Daniel threatened her, calling her ungrateful and humiliating. Her family pressured her to apologize in return. Fear clawed at her again, but every time Alexander stood beside her, not to fight her battles for her, but to remind her she was strong enough to face them. Their friendship blossomed into something deeper. Emily noticed how Alexander, despite his wealth, ate alone most nights. How he built skyscrapers but rarely opened his heart. She saw his humanity, his longing for genuine connection. And he saw in her the courage he'd lost long ago. One evening, under the same rooftop stars, Alexander finally admitted, "I never believed love was for me. Too many people wanted me for my money, my name. But you ran into my life, not caring about any of that. Emily, you've reminded me what it means to live." Tears filled her eyes. "And you reminded me that I deserved to choose my own happiness." It wasn't an instant fairy tale. They had to fight through judgment, rebuild trust with her family, and let time heal old wounds. But together they grew stronger. Alexander supported Emily's art career, and she helped him step away from the loneliness of his empire. Months later, Emily stood in front of a canvas in her gallery, her hands covered in paint. Alexander slipped behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist, whispering, "You didn't run away that day. Emily, you ran toward the life you were meant to live, and this time, she didn't run. She stayed because she had finally fallen, not into a cage, but into love." The message was clear. Sometimes walking away from what everyone else expects isn't weakness, it's strength. And when you dare to follow your heart, you may just find it leading you exactly where you belong.